Hello everyone, this is Kindy Segovia and we are going to spend a few minutes giving you a little bit of information about assistive technology in advance of our PASE meeting. I am from Kent ISD and I'm the Assistive Technology Supervisor there. And you can find me on the Kent ISD website. You can also find me on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle, @Kindy Segovia. So feel free to find me there. We'll talk a little bit more about Twitter and its place in the world of assistive technology when we get together on March 14th. So let's talk a little bit about what we use. Do you use either of these? I'm thinking that most of us use a alarm clock, a digital alarm clock, or an old-fashioned analog alarm clock, or now in this day and age many of us use a phone as our alarm. I know that's what I use sitting on my bedside table every day. Maybe you use one of these, GPS in your car. Garmin and a few other companies make GPS devices that we can keep in our car all the time to help us navigate. Maybe you use the GPS app on your phone. Sometimes we even use that when we're walking to find out where we need to go and what the best route to get there is. We no longer need to rely on a paper map. And I'm betting that you probably use either or both of these, a remote control. Some of you might be of an age, as I am, that you will remember the child in the family had to get up from the chair or the couch or the floor and go and physically change the channel on the television, and now we can just sit on the couch and push the buttons and change the channels. It doesn't require any mobility at all, and we can do the same with our car. We can simply lock and unlock our car, open the trunk with our car remote control. If you use any of those, then you are using assistive technology. Assistive technology is a broad term that means any device or service that help individuals with special needs in a multitude of areas. Assistive technology does not just apply to your children, our students. It applies across the lifespan. In fact, we're seeing quite a bit of increase in the development and use of assistive technology as our population ages, because we do know that as we age, not that any of us are in that category, we do need some assistance accomplishing our daily tasks. Assistive technology is that technology that assists us with those daily tasks. When we're talking about students, it's that technology or those devices and accommodations that assist with access to our education. But in this day and age, it's pretty difficult to navigate because there are so many devices, apps, websites, tools, equipment, low-tech to high-tech to choose from, increasingly more all of the time. How do we know which is the right assistive technology to utilize to accomplish a specific task? It can be quite daunting. So we use something called the SET framework. Some of you may be familiar with it. I talk about it quite a lot. It stands for those 4 columns on your screen: the student, the environment, the tasks, and the tools. This is a framework for discussion. We often start our discussion with the device we have in mind. For example, a teacher might say, I would really like to be able to use an iPad with my student on the autism spectrum. Or we might suggest that a student who has difficulty writing and taking notes needs to use a LiveScribe Smart Pen. But we make those assumptions without first having good conversation and due diligence in discussion about the student first, their specific concerns and abilities, their likes and dislikes, and finding out specifically where the areas of need are. We need to talk about the environment. This is very important. What we use at school in a general ed classroom might be very different than what we use in a small, more self-contained special education classroom. Might be different than what we use at home for homework. And then we also need to very specifically talk about which tasks are we trying to improve or allow the student increased ability. Those tasks need to be identified very, very specifically. Reading is not a task. Writing is not a task. We need to break down those activities into very specific daily tasks that happen at home or within our classrooms. Only then can we land on particular tools that we might want to try. We then implement using these 5 T's. We identify those tools and we need to put trials in place with good indications of what are our goals and objectives for the trial of that device or technology. Who needs to be trained, the student or any adults in the environment, for which tasks. Very important. And we need to put a timeline to that so that we keep ourselves accountable for indicating whether something is effectively working for a student or not. This helps us implement a very purposeful plan. Assistive technology, of course, can go from low tech, no tech, all the way through high tech, and as many accommodations and tools that we use in our own lives, low tech and no tech are often the best choice. The more complicated a tool is, the more complicated it's going to be to implement into our daily activities. So here's a few just visual examples of some lower tech options that might be considered assistive technology. Many of these are becoming mainstream in some of our classrooms, so we might not even include them as assistive technology. Some mid-tech items that we might consider. Mid-tech generally means something that is either has a battery or can be charged, is electronic in some way, but not necessarily attached to a computer or a digital device. And then, of course, we have an increasingly large number of high-tech items, from our tablets and iPads and iPhones to our computers and high-level communication devices, websites, all with an array of options. So a few things to note about assistive technology. Yes, it does need to be considered for every student with an IEP. It is on the IEP paperwork. There is a checkbox for that, and we do quite a significant amount of training with our educators in this area around what that means. When do we check yes and when do we check no? We do know that it must be a need, not just something we feel would be better for the student, might assist a student, but it has to be required for them to access their education. It is IEP driven, so we need to look at the PLAF and the goals and objectives and align our assistive technology with those areas. If we believe that a student could use some assistive technology in math, for example, but math is not an identified need area, then the school is not required to provide AT in that area, only aligned with the identified IEP needs, goals, and objectives of that student. So we will continue this conversation on Monday, March 14th. I hope that you will join me at Penn ISD for that. I will have lots of assistive technology to show and share, some new things that are starting to become part of our mainstream school environment, many tools and options that are free to access both for our teachers and for students and families at home. Can be great supports for that. And we'll explore some of that decision making and how we go about determining what the need is for a student. So I will see you all on Monday, March 14th.